Welcome to the third conversation of today regarding World Usability Day. And my name is Christine Southard Lorenzo. I'm a little hyphenated. I got a little long this past year. But I am the past president of the Inclusive Learning Network, formerly known as SETSIG, which was the Special Ed Technology Special Interest Group of ISTE. And today we're having this event to celebrate World Usability Day and to talk about how our organization and people who are in our profession or soon-to-be profession of education to talk about how we can make content more accessible and usable to students, but also to talk about how we're affected personally by tools that make our life easier or make our life sometimes a little bit harder. So I don't know if you noticed, but before we started, I had a trailer video that I had put out, which was a video about the background around World Usability Day. And so I'm wondering if anybody got a chance to look at it yet, or even if you saw it, because I'm not sure how it looks on your end. So if you want to share an answer, you could just unmute yourself and let me know if you've seen it or not. And I'll see if I can put it, if there's a chat component. There is a chat component. I can actually share it in the chat. So let me just grab it. Let's see. John Hockenberry is the person who presents in the video. He is a news reporter who he himself is in a wheelchair and talks about, you know, how things in his life are either usable or not, and how he makes his way around the world and you know, and functions. And so a lot of in our position in education, we have a lot of students who have barriers to learning, and you know, it's either our job to introduce them to tools that can help them to be successful, to overcome those barriers, whether or not it is through like an assistive technology evaluation and or just learning the tricks of the trade with regards to technology that's available to them in their classroom, or in some cases, which is what I'd like to talk about today, when I have students that come to me for an AT evaluation, I ask them to bring me the technology that they use at home, and they don't even realize if they have a smartphone what accessibility features are usable to them, just because of the fact that they have the device in their pocket. They have actually, you know, a computer in their pocket that has a lot of support tools that they could use, you know, just as a you know, just as a person, you know, just like we do too. So let me just jump back over into our Hangout, and I'm going to paste the link to the video in the chat. And so I'm going to give you a few minutes just to look at that if you haven't looked at it already. In fact, if you've looked at it, can you give me a thumbs up? And if you've not, give me a thumbs down. There you go. So, so take some time. It's like a 3-minute video. Watch it and then come on back. And I will be, I'm just going to minimize this real quick, and I'll be right back. Let's see. All right. All right, so when you're done, give me a thumbs up. When you're done watching the video, I'd love to chat with you because the whole purpose of our conversation tonight is to really talk about what usability means to you and also to compare usability around the world. However, I'm not sure of your location right now. I'm in New York. I know that you're in the United States. I just don't remember where you're going to school with my friend Dr. Anderson. You know, is usability different based on where you live? Is it, usability based on your different needs? I want you to talk to me. So when you're ready to unmute and let's have a conversation about it. To make this more universally designed, I'll also give you the option. There's a chat function. And so if you'd like to type your response, but if you're brave enough to chat with me so I'm not the lonely speaker, that would also be awesome. I want to know, what does usability mean to you based on, watching that video?
Well, we're in Chicago.
Okay, hi.
Hi. My name's
Welcome. So what do you think?
About the video or about usability in general?
A little bit of both.
The video seems a little bit old.
Yes.
But and I think that even more has been done as far as usability, like even cell phones. Now that we have like FaceTime, I feel like for certain communities, like deaf community, instead of having to text all the time, they could even like FaceTime and communicate with each other in like a more personal way. And there's like small things, like my fiance and I went and bought toilets this weekend, and I didn't realize that if you were to buy an elongated toilet, it's not ADA. It has to be a round one. And I was thinking about like usability, and like I don't understand like why one is and one isn't, but apparently round is easier for people to, or easily accessible.
The point of us coming together is to have a conversation about things. So if you, our audience, have never heard that before, that's probably a new tip to you that you've never heard before. This morning we had presenters who joined us from Australia and also from, I believe a woman from Egypt also joined us. And so one of the issue, not issues, but people have different needs with regards to usability and whether or not something is usable to them. And you brought up about the fact that the video is old, and it is old, but literally if a technology came out yesterday, it would already be outdated today. And so, that's another thing that we have to consider with regards to usability, is that there's always something new. And that there's always something that you could adapt. My grandpa, he reminded me of MacGyver. I don't even know if do you guys know who MacGyver is? It used to be a TV show where, there was a guy who would always solve problems, and, he'd have like, a pen and, some gum, and, here I go, I have sprinkles, and he's able to make something and put it together. My grandpa had a physical disability where it was really hard for him to get around and to get into vehicles, and there was nothing that he couldn't make in order to help himself. And so I remember his car was too high for him, and so he made himself a block with a string attached to it that he could hang to the door, so every time that he got into the car, he could, the block was hanging there, so he could put it on the floor but still keep it hanging, so he could use it as a step to get into his car, and then would use the string to pull it up and pull it into his car. Basic, but it helped make his life more, I don't know, make his car more usable. I guess you can't use a car unless you can get in it. And there are a lot of people who have different challenges with mobility. There are people who have fine motor deficits and have to learn how to adapt. And sometimes, you know, some people are born with it. Some people are, you know, have an accident or have something that changes the functionality of their body, and then they have to learn to adapt with it too. And that changes whether or not something is usable. I guess now relate it to education. So are there things in education with regards to teaching content to students that you know, the content isn't accessible or usable to our students? What tools? What tools need fixing in order to make them usable and accessible to students? Even you. I'm taking college classes right now, and I have to tell you, I don't enjoy reading books, and I have to read books, you know, every week I have to read 40 pages in a chapter, and that's really hard for me. I have a busy life. I'm in my car, and sometimes books aren't usable for me, but I can't get them in a format that would make it easier. I like being read to, but then that also, it becomes an issue when I don't like the reader. And so, you know, you have to decide what's usable for you. My favorite reader, let's see, doesn't read the things that I need to read, like my textbook. Who wants to be a reader for a textbook? So, I don't know. Give me some other examples. I feel like you're all looking at me. Come on, you have things to share. Talk with me.
I have difficulty opening my textbooks and holding. So now I go on here and I download the textbooks.
Anyone else? You're all so quiet. Be brave and talk to me. All right, I'm leaning out of the picture because I also, it probably looks backwards to you. It's a page up. I have to do a lot of typing sometimes, but I find that as I prepare my lessons and I also prepare my responses to my college homework, I like to handwrite things, but then I have to type it. So I have this tool so it will hold up the paper. You know, a very basic tool, but it makes the paper more usable to me. Otherwise, I'm hanging over the top of it, you know, getting a crick neck, trying to read what I hand wrote in order to keyboard it over. But there are other better ways for me to do that, because you probably have students who have the same issue. My job is I work at an elementary school, and I'm a computer teacher, and so I work with K-5 students who you know, are just learning how to keyboard and navigate the computer and write their assignments online, and even navigate the web. And some of them are strong readers, some of them are not. Some of them don't know how to keyboard. For example, today we started keyboarding, and can you guess which fingers were the most active during keyboarding? Come on, there we go, little index fingers, right? So they're hunting and pecking for the words. They're already poor spellers. They already have poor fine motor. You know, they have poor fine motor. So technically, the keyboard really isn't that usable to them. What are some tools that would be better tools for them to give them access? Can you think of some tools?
The Dragon Speak.
Dragon Speak would work.
I think that just practice. I mean, there's like larger words if you have hard.
How about Siri? Maybe? I don't know. One of the things that what I started to tell you before is I'm the computer teacher at school, but I also do assistive technology evals for the kids at the middle school and high school in order to support them. And a lot of them come to me with smartphones that they don't know what all the functions are. And so there are kids who have writing disabilities who didn't even realize that they have speech-to-text capabilities that they can use on their iPhone in order to compensate for their writing deficits. So instead of spending like the whole night trying to, you know, use their index fingers to hunt and peck for letters and type something out, they could open something like Google Docs on their iPhone and use Siri or speech-to-text in order to talk directly into the Google document. Let's see. So, oh, that stinks. So you can only hear, I'm getting some messages in the chat that say that you're having difficulty hearing anybody else speak except for me. Does that mean I have to be the talking head? I still want you to interact with me in the chat, please. Even when Dr. Anderson speaks, it gets a little choppy. That looks like a yes. I got some nods. Okay. All right. Well, all right. So then I guess I'll keep talking. Do you have any questions or comments for me so far? Smiles. Okay. Well, if you have questions or comments, I want you to talk to me. I asked you before where you, let's see, where you go to school, because I don't remember the state that you're in. I told you I'm in New York. And one of the goals of our group today was to find out if access and usability is different in different parts of the world. And, you know, where I teach on Long Island, and a lot of the families that I work with have families or have parents that work in New York City, and a lot of the kids have access to lots of gadgets. And so, you know, they'll come to school and they'll have, like I said, they'll have smartphones, they'll have access to, you know, an iPad or a computer. And so I live in a place where technology is almost in excess, but people still don't know how to navigate and use all the supports with them. You know, there are other parts of the country where that isn't the case, and you have to figure out how to adapt in order to support your students, you know, in your classroom. Are any of you teachers right now, or are you just students? I have a yes and a yes. Okay, so if you think about that, when I first became a teacher, I was put into a one-computer room, and I had to support 25 kids. I have a usability issue. I don't have enough tools to support all of the students that are in my class. And so you have to think about that too, about how you could either get your hands on more technology, you know, through grants. As a new teacher, one of the things that I did with my co-teacher was we would apply for lots of contests and cross our fingers and hope that we won. And there were a few times that we did where we were able to bring in more technology to support our students. You know, so when you see those contests, definitely apply for them. In my district now, we're not a one-to-one district, but we do have, let's see, we have 3 carts. So we have over 600 kids in the whole school, but we have 3 Chromebook carts. And so their older kids in 4th and 5th grade have their own Google accounts where they can type their documents online. And there are a lot of supports that you can use within Google Documents in order to make a word processing program like that more accessible and usable to kids. In fact, I don't know if I have it. Our organization, which is part of ISTE, is the Inclusive Learning Network, and I'm sure that Dr. Anderson has talked about that before. You know, it's our goal in order to support teachers to help students, and as a student, if you're not a, you're all students right now, and one of the benefits of being a student is to remember that you can apply to be members of organizations at student rates. So if you're not a member already of ISTE, I would encourage you, and then join if you're interested in supporting students, you know, with special needs and inclusively. It would behoove you to join ISTE as a student member and then also join our organization, because we have a lot of really great presenters, including Mike Murata, who recently presented for our group on Google supports for Chrome. And I'm trying to Google really fast so I can share that resource with you. So a lot of schools are going to Chrome because Google Apps for Education, it's also nicknamed as GAFE, G-A-F-E. We're a Google Apps for Education district, and so because it's a free support that we could use for our students that they can have access at home if they have if they have internet access. The cool thing is you can also access these Google supports on a smartphone, but also on a computer. So, all right, I finally have the link that I need to share with you. So, our organization invites people to come and speak about different tools in order for you as a teacher to be more informed to use these tools with your students, and also for you to learn too. You know, as a grown-up, I'll tell you, I really like these Chrome tools. I told you before, if my teacher gives me a really long article to read, I have things to do. You know, I'm a mom, I'm busy, I have to make dinner. The cool thing about opening articles online is I can use some of these support tools that are Chrome apps that will read the articles to me out loud while I'm cooking dinner. Now that may or may not relate to you, but we all have to eat. So I'd rather have somebody read to me, and that makes that article more usable to me because I can sort of multitask at the same time. Like I said, Mike Murata offers lots of supports in that link that I just shared with you. To be able to support kids who have difficulty with reading and also difficulty with writing output, because I saw somebody had posted in there too that that's an issue. You know, and there are lots of different tools that you can use for free in order to support them. But if you as a grown-up or you know somebody who needs that support too, it doesn't always have to be designed for students with special needs. It could be a universally designed tool which would benefit all people. So, let's see what else do we have. So I have some questions for you because I know you love those questions. So, but I'll love if you could participate by leaving your comments in the chat. That would be awesome, and I'll just read them out loud. So, what usable technology is important to your lives? So let's see what you guys got. You have to write a response. Let's see. I'm going to jump back to Google. Phone, definitely. A tangible computer mouse. Okay. Me too. My phone, my iPad, my computer. A mouse instead of a trackpad. Yeah, I don't like the trackpad either. What else? A laptop and a phone. Gotcha. I think all of those tools. What about tools that you use within those devices? So what applications are you using? Oh, there we go. Christina just realized that this semester her Mac is able to read highlighted text aloud. So it's very useful when writing papers. I find that too because as you write more and more, you've been reminded in school of the things that you need to work on. But I know that my deficit is that I'm a word skipper. So when I write things, I write so fast that I skip words. And so having the content or whatever I wrote read back to me, really helps me to focus and make sure that I didn't miss anything, and makes the technology more usable. So applications, though, tell me more. Drag and dictate. Even within your smartphone, what other tools do you use that make things easier? Any of you ever use a calculator when you're out to dinner and you have to figure out the tip or how you're going to split it between friends? That's considered usability. So what else? Is there anything new? Because there's also, like I said, that video before that I shared with you is old school, but it gets the point across. But the technology is changing every day. And at our discussion, this is the third discussion that we've had today on usability, and one of the presenters had asked, is it really important that I know everything about what's new? And I guess you can't really, I don't know, you can't always know everything that's new, but it's important to keep on top of the new technologies in order for you to be able to help yourself, but also to help yourself, help others. Dr. Anderson said earlier today as part of the presentation, they also talked about wearables. Wearables are another new technology, that, what do I want to say? that can support all people, that not just students with special needs, although they have, and actually I'm going to ask Dr. Anderson to share about that. She had some really great examples of students who were using wearable technology. Personally, in my life, I have a family member who has autism, and so and he likes to explore. And so the ability for him to wear a GPS tracker is always helpful to his family and his godmother. And so there are those technologies that are wearable now that are really, they're coming into, what do I want to say? They're infiltrating our culture and changing it. But, it's our culture in the United States and maybe in Europe too. But when we talk to other people in other parts of the country, they don't have access to these technologies yet. That's why I sort of wish some of the presenters from this morning were able to make it this evening. However, I think they're sleeping. So that's one of the hard things about our international committee and collaborating with people throughout the world is, that's actually one of Dr. Anderson's cool new apps, is to figure out, well, what time is it in another part of the world, because we have different people that we're dealing with. And, a lot of our meetings this past month have been really early in the morning, which is hard for me, but perfect for some of the other people who are participating. And that's a really cool, usable app that we, what I was going to say, that we've been using too, to help make time more usable for us and meetings accessible. So, are there any barriers to usability? And so that's my question to you. I mean, that's why you really have to, it really seems like usability, it's lame. I can pick up something and use it, but you really have to think about it. Are there barriers, to using my highlighter? Are there barriers to technologies in school, that would affect our students? I have, let's see, barriers. Politics. What do you mean? Funding from politics. I don't know. Talk to me, Dr. Anderson. Let's see. No internet connection in my classroom. That's a big one. Technology isn't always reliable. That's true. But don't give up. Just because you're frustrated by technology, don't stop using technology. There are definitely certain websites that are not accessible. We have a presenter that's on our team. He's not here tonight, but his name is Luis, and he has a visual impairment. And when we create presentations, he's always giving us a friendly reminder that the presentation needs to be created in such a way so that it's accessible and that he can read it. There are certain colors that work better for him. And that's why it's really important that you consider your audience. If you have a student in your classroom with a visual impairment, it's really important for you to consider what colors that you use in your presentation, and talk to that student, because if that student is part of your audience, and it's your job as an educator in order to adapt your content in order to support your students and make it more usable. If you've created a presentation that's difficult to read, you've just lost that kid. So, all right. Let's see. You have some notes. Getting the website accessible. Transportation of materials. Computerized devices can be finicky and frustrating when growing from place to place. Sometimes technology walks too, and so you have to be careful of that. I had a student this past year who said, oops, oh, this iPad fell right into my backpack. Oops, well, I noticed it and I put a message on it that said, you need to bring it back to school. And it was no longer usable. So there are things that you have to think about that too. Let's see. Privacy. Some technology does save your data. Although one of my favorite tools that I use is Waze. Has anybody ever heard of that? For those who are, Waze is W-A-Z-E, and it gets you to wherever you're going the fastest. It's like social networking for GPS, and it tracks you. And tracks other people, and will always tell me the fastest way to get to work, because I spend a lot of time in my car getting to work. And so while that's not a a technology that supports people with special needs, you know what? It's usable for me, and I love it. So, trying to think of what else I can ask you. Let's see. How can we help to create a world, or, well, how can, sorry, I'm going to reverse. Hold on. How can we help create a world tech usability revolution? How do we get the word out that usability is important? What are some of the ways that you're going to take this information now and go back out into the world and talk to people about usability? I mean, it's such a basic concept, but it's super important in order to make the world more accessible to students with special needs, and actually with everyone, to be inclusive of everyone. So give me one one way you're going to go out into the world and kind of inspire people to be aware of usability and promote usability. What are you going to do? Anyone? You're all so quiet. Teach special education. That works. How about teach your grandparents? Teach your mom how to, you know, use her phone. What else? Remind kids, too. Remind kids who are having difficulties that if they have access to those devices, show them where the accessibility features are in order to support them. Telling other teachers about it, definitely. Try to think of anything else. I want you, we're not going to spend our whole hour talking about this, but I want to give Dr. Anderson the opportunity to cover anything else that I might have missed, or maybe because she attended the two other presentations this morning.
Well, if my speech breaks up, I don't know if anybody wants to listen to me. Is it working now?
I hear you nice. I hear you well.
So I'm not breaking up anymore?
You sound pretty good.
Okay, well, one of the things we talked about earlier was wearable technology. And this is something that Christina and I did at ISTE last year. We talked about some of the wearable technologies that are there. And so, like, this was a little video, if I can make it work.
I can hear it, but I can't see it.
See it, can you?
No, but if you post the link.
Basically what this video is showing is this little boy's walking out in a park with his father, and the teacher's talking to the little boy, and he actually hears her through his jacket. And he's talking to her through his jacket. So that the wearable device that he's wearing is the jacket that's on his back, and that technology is not is not impossible for us to do these days. I have a software program that I use and am hopefully going to teach some of you if you take the tech class next semester, called Blipper, which develops what we call augmented reality software. It's like three-dimensional software, and so that's what he's using on his jacket. And it's possible today to do something, maybe not as sophisticated as you would see it if you saw it, could see the video, but it's possible to actually stitch something to your shirt and play Tetris on it. Other wearable devices, well, this is one that I worked on. Here's the Tetris thing down in the corner. So you can play Tetris on your t-shirt. This was something that I started working on just to get my feet wet in wearable technology. I have a U-Haul camper, and I created a hat that lights up through a little tiny computer that I stitched into the hat band and wired it to the LED light. And so it shines when I go camping, when I go to use the restroom. This is another wearable device that I have. You all know that I have a hand disability. This is called a Twiddler 3. And while the picture sits there looking like you see it, I've had to adapt it for my hands because it doesn't work very well. It's actually a fully fledged keyboard with a mouse and everything built into it, and so you can run your iPad, you can run it on your phone, whatever is Bluetooth connected will do it. And so is the hand thing that's right next to it too. Let's see, you guys can see this because no, you can't see this, can you? Let me give you the. Somebody should have hit me over the head earlier. Let me give you the link to this. So you can, it's a Google Doc, so you can see it. Well, I guess I had linked it earlier. So if you guys want to actually see it, this is what I'm talking off of, is this Google Doc, and now I lost it on my screen. So are you able to see it? I see pictures showing up. They see it. So anyway, I use this little device. At least I try to. It takes a lot of practice to do it, and I'll have about 2 or 3 days I practice it, and then I get busy, and I just need a solid 2 weeks to just do it. Of course, most of you have seen fitness watches and smart watches. I have a Pebble watch that is nice. When your connections don't work and you send me a Gmail, it comes across my Pebble watch, so I know that somebody's sending me a Gmail. This is a much more sophisticated smartwatch than I have. My husband uses his smartwatch to keep track of the school board's text messages, so he knows instantly if he's in trouble or not. Google Glass and all of the new kinds of more sophisticated things. Google Glass didn't make it very well in the public schools, but it is heavily used in the health field when it comes to health issues. This is the 3D wearable devices that you can get. Now, one of them is very simple. This is Google Cardboard and is free, or will cost you about $5. And Google has a new program they're taking into schools where the students can watch 3D, can sort of take 3D virtual field trips. My husband's school got to do that a couple of weeks ago. The other one is much more sophisticated, called an Oculus Rift. You might have heard of the GoPro cameras. Those are wearable devices. You can take video. And for kids with disabilities, this is a little device that if you want to feel better during the daytime, you can just attach it to your head, and it works to make your brain waves make you feel better. This is a wearable device for visually impaired. So it will connect to your shoes, and you can navigate better. It's because it gives you little messages to help you navigate better. It also helps with face recognition. And this is a more sophisticated hearing aid than just a simple hearing aid. It ties into smartphone technology. And finally, this is a guiding system for a wheelchair. There's actually a stud embedded in that fellow's tongue that's magnetic, and it attaches to the headpiece that he's wearing that helps him guide his wheelchair. These are just, I was writing an article in the fall on wearable technology, and I did most of the parts that talked about what's good about wearable technology and what we have to watch out for, and I had a really, really hard time. My co-authors were not special ed people. I had a really, really hard time not making it all special ed because wearable technology is really, really big in special ed. But that's just a taste of it. I'm done. Oh, well, if you want to, too, I gave you a link to a Pinterest thing. Last spring, when we did an activity with this committee, we put together a Pinterest page, and some of Christine's stuff is on there, some of my stuff is on there. This is all usable stuff. This thing right here is my scooter. When I have to take long distances, this is also my scooter. This is the one that I get to the L train on. And then a bunch of iPad apps that I have on my iPad. Okay, now I'm done.
Okay. Thank you. All right, I'm hearing myself. Well, there we go. It's all fixed. One of the other things that isn't necessarily technology, but I told you I have a godson who has autism, and one of the things that came across my desk just because you know, not somebody, in the past meeting, one of the presenters asked, how do you keep up with what's new? And one of the ways that I keep up with what's new is I use Feedly in order to get lots of blog information sent to, you know, to my Feedly. It's kind of like it aggregates all of the different websites that I like to visit and pulls it into one space. And one of the things that came across my desk or came through my computer is, let's see, I just put it out there for you, is that a mom created a clothing line for autistic children to learn to dress. And so it's not technology per se, but it is a product that's usable, you know, for students who, not students, but for people who have to get dressed and don't want to worry about, you know, is the tag supposed to be in the front or the back, or will my pockets work if I wear my, you know, my pants backwards? You know, for kids who are whose parents and whose families are really looking for them to be independent, this clothing line makes getting dressed easier for that kind of kid. Doesn't matter if they're inside out or not. There's no tags. Doesn't matter if the pants are backwards. They can't be upside down, but they can be backwards. The pockets still work depending on which, you know, direction the kid is facing. And like I said, it doesn't matter if it's inside out or not. There's all different colors. It doesn't matter, and it fosters independence. And a lot of the technology, you know, that we're talking about today, or any of the products that we're talking today, really have to do with giving people independence. And so I'm going to end by saying that this is a message that was from the World Usability Day website, and I'm going to put that, let's see, I'm going to open that up for you. Because this is, let's see, my Hangout keeps hiding. Let's see. From the World Usability Day website. Every citizen on our planet has the right to usable products and services, and we need your help in order to spread the message and make the necessary changes. You know, it's something that's simple. It's usability, but it's really complex and it's really important in order to get the word out about how important it is, you know, to support people. And so I thank you for taking the time to, you know, join us in the conversation tonight and being brave to participate and chat. And like I said to you before, you know, if you're a new teacher, or even, you know, as a student who's going to school to become a teacher, take the opportunity to join some of these special interest groups. You know, I'm definitely pushing mine. The Inclusive Learning Network. ISTE is the organization that you would join, and then the sub-organization is called the Inclusive Learning Network, and I just shared the link for that because it's our goal in order to advocate for all people and to advocate for products and services that are usable to people. And we also want to reach out internationally and to be able to support educators in different countries who have different usability needs than we do. And so I want to say thank you, like, again, even though Dr. Anderson, you know, asked you to join, I'm really happy that you're here, and it was really nice to see you all and talk with you all. So any questions or comments before we leave or sign off?
Can I just take my students?
Yes.
You sign off. It's the end of class, and I'll see you next week. Smiles.
All right. Very cool. Well, it was very nice talking with you, and good night.
Thanks so much, Christine.
You're welcome.
I always wait till everybody signs off.